Director General Azoulay, let me begin by offering my congratulations on your election to your new post. I guess the race was too close, but we highly enjoyed it between Qatar and France. As you know, Qatar has a long history of supporting UNESCO, and we look forward to further enhancing our relationship under your leadership. Honored guests and delegates, thank you for this opportunity to mark an important milestone in our shared efforts to address the global education crisis of out-of-school children and to highlight the developments in our program. I first stood before the United Nations 15 years ago to express my support for our shared vision to provide quality education to children everywhere. I have come here today to tell you that this shared vision is now a real possibility. According to the updated estimate received just 2 days ago, there are over 63 million children still out of school. These changes might seem insurmountable, but I have come here today to tell you that if more champions of education can stand up and take part, these problems can overcome. As the world grapples with crises, I have come here today to tell you that if we want to counter ramifications of crises, education must become our first priority. If we wish for peace and prosperity for all, we must ensure education for all. In pursuing that goal, I am proud to say that UNESCO is one of our strategic partners and has been with us from the very beginning. Since 2009, I have worked with UNESCO to rehabilitate the Iraqi education system from the primary grades to higher education. We have worked across the country despite the instability, training teachers, developing curriculums, to ensuring that quality education reach all levels. And I am pleased to say that today that project is running successfully under the supervision of the Iraqi government. And I'm also pleased to say that our partnership with UNESCO has expanded and is now reaching marginalized children in 11 countries around the world. It would not have been possible without the support of the State of Qatar and the generosity of our partners. Mais besoin encore fait. Today in Paris, we signed an agreement with UNESCO to educate 150,000 more out-of-school children in the Middle East and Asia. Ça s'améliore. We also signed an agreement with the American Refugee Committee to educate 1 million more children in Pakistan. These are major steps forward, and I'm pleased to share them with you today. Paris has historically served as a hub for international collaboration, and President Macron is breathing a new life into the drive to educate children around the world. So I'm delighted to share these announcements in the presence of many of our French partners, including the French government, Humanity and Inclusion, and Aide et Action. Ladies and gentlemen, over the past 2 decades in Qatar, we have witnessed the transformational power of education. Internationally, through my work as UNESCO Special Envoy, I have met children who could only dream of receiving an education, children who faced discrimination, disability, conflicts, natural disasters, poverty. Children, over time, risked becoming mere statistics in annual reports. Statistics cannot catalog the impact of the child's broken dreams. So we must not allow ourselves to be numbed by the numbers, and we cannot accept apathy as a response, because history, as we know, will judge us by both what we do and what we choose not to do. For too long, the solutions applied by the international community have fallen short. Most large-scale efforts to provide universal primary education became unfinished goals. We have seen this story too many times. Well-intentioned people frustrated by the absence of tangible results lost their enthusiasm when they find that their initiatives never end up supplying a textbook or teaching a child to read. We realize that if we kept operating like this, number of our school children would keep growing, and we would be chasing never-ending problem. We were determined to make educate a child different. We knew that the mission was possible. We just needed a different model. We knew our resources would be limited, so we had to make a choice between two options: educate 60 million children in 1 year or 10 million children in 6 years. We chose in the latter. We wanted lasting change. I then made a personal promise to provide primary education to 10 million children. I knew it was ambitious, but I wanted to show that even daring goals can be met. What started as a personal challenge soon evolved into a global coalition, and today, with support of our many partners, we will soon keep our promise to educate 10 million children. Ladies and gentlemen, if new sponsors join the cause and replicate our model, I believe that together we can educate all 63 million children. We can do this. It's possible. After all, we now know the formula. Dedicated partnerships using multi-sector formula fostered by strong political commitments. And we know that it works. We know that quality education impacts development well beyond the walls of the classroom, which is why multi-sectoral solutions have been so critical to achieving quick on-the-ground results and long-lasting impact. In Mali, for instance, we collaborated with 13 partners from different sectors to construct schools with proper hygiene facilities, build ramps for handicapped children, and help parents send their girls as well as their boys to school. We saw firsthand how an education initiative drove development. So today, I'm inviting new partners to join us in this noble cause, because I believe that if we can succeed in replicating this multi-sector model, we can actually achieve all of the UN's Sustainable Development Goals. Yes, education is that powerful. My friends, we have accomplished a lot with this multi-sector approach, but there is still much to be done, which is why we need political commitments. I think we would all agree that education is a human right, and as human right, education should be above all, certainly above politics. But sadly, this is often not the case. During the current siege against Qatar, for example, many Qatari students who were enrolled in schools in the blockading countries were expelled, including students studying at Sorbonne's Middle East campus. But the blockading states, with their irresponsible acts and reckless, ruthless games, did not stop there. To cite one example, our program in Yemen, both education and employment initiatives, were indefinitely postponed last year, halted because of their politique. I visited Yemen years ago to see our programs, which help to employ young Yemenis. Yemen is a land of civilization, has people with beautiful minds and great potential. This vindictive act of halting these programs hurt the children of Yemen and jeopardizes the nation's future. Worse, if humanitarian aid is not immediately allowed, more and more people in Yemen will starve. This is just one tragic example of crisis in the world. Extremism thrives in environments characterized by hopelessness, frustration, and despair. So finding ways to provide hope and opportunity should be a major priority. The long-term cost of failing to provide education, coupled with desperate circumstances, leave the young vulnerable to extremist ideologies. Education gives young people the resilience and the critical skills they need to reject hate and violence. Realistically, we cannot stop all conflicts from happening. But we can prepare the minds of the youth for the chance to survive the chaos. Just as Pasteur once said, chance favors only prepared mind. Chance favors only the prepared mind. We have seen education suffer where it is needed most in conflict areas around the world. Unfortunately, education as an institution is currently fragile and defenseless. Algebra is not taught by soldiers in fortified compounds. It is taught by teachers in schools. But schools have been bombed and burned. Teachers have been murdered, and students have been abducted and forced to serve as child soldiers. This orchestrated war on education must stop. Schools must become safe havens. Students and their teachers must be off limits in conflict areas. The international community has the authority to demand this, and it must act. I call upon international bodies to demand the safety and security of educational institutions. It is possible. I call upon government leaders to respect the right of every child to get an education, whether in peacetime or in war. I call upon governments to stop playing political games with education, and it is very, very possible. Ladies and gentlemen, I call for us to be even more persistent and brave in our current commitments. It is possible. I call for new partners and sponsors to join our campaign so the 63 million children will not be left behind. It's possible. Most important, we need each person to think of educating out-of-school children as his or her personal challenge, as their cause. So if you are a sanitation company, if you build roads, if you supply clean water, if you provide electricity, if you specialize in nutrition, we need you to be a partner to educate children around the world. But scaling up this multi-sectoral resolution required thoughtful leadership and effective coordination. France can take on this role through its unique position at UNESCO. We are looking to you for this leadership, and we are here to help multiply the results. For my part, I have committed myself to striving without end to ensure quality education for all, above all, and I urge you to join me. So, l'éducation pour tous avant tout. Merci.